Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hi, listener. It's Lara Jane, your host, and today I am with Kim. And I'm so excited to talk to Kim. We had a couple topics going on in our mind, and I think we settled on choice, making life a choice. One of the other topics was, why we don't have time for self-care. And I think that goes right back to choice. You're not choosing yourself first. So all of the information about Kim, how to get a hold of her, they are in the show notes already for you. Take a look. Check her out. But for now, we are going to jump right into our conversation with Kim and start learning about choice. Thank you for joining us, Kim.
Thank you. So glad to be here with you.
Tell us about choice.
That is a big, big question. It's a big conversation. So I guess when I think of choice, or I'll put choice into three buckets, but we'll focus on one.
Okay.
Think of like your simplest daily choices. What am I eating? What am I wearing? That's one type of choice. That's not what we're talking about today. Then there are choices that I call momentary choices. And those are, am I doing my work project? Am I cleaning the kitchen? Kind of an A or B. Right. Not life-changing, don't require a ton of thought, but if we get hung up on them, it can kind of act as a bottleneck for us. The choice that I'm most interested in are what I call the proactive choices. They're the ones that matter. They're the choices that we want to bring our intentionality to and make a commitment towards, that we know when we make this choice, it can have impact in our life and potentially others. So that's really, when I think of choice, that's what it is. And the truth is, we all make them. I mean, there is a statistic that across all three of those types of choices, we make 35,000 of them a day.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it. Probably before you've woken up and really started moving in the morning, am I wearing that outfit, this one, these socks, those socks, this color shirt, that color shirt, which breakfast am I eating? You can imagine that. But again, grounding into the ones that matter, the ones that are, am I doing something in the world that matters to me? Am I choosing to do something new professionally, choosing to do something new personally? Am I choosing to end a relationship, begin a relationship? You brought up self-care. Am I choosing to embark on a self-care practice? Am I choosing to reinvigorate a habit that I used to have that fell by the wayside? You can see where it shows up all the time. Am I going to begin to choose to walk 3 times a week? Choice
Right.
Can be a habit. It can be looked at in that way, but it's very powerful from the perspective of every day you get to choose. And when you are ever in a slump or in a place where your life is not what you want it to be, you can make a new choice. It really is almost as simple as that. So I think it's a beautiful conversation that is accessible to everybody at every age.
I think that's one of the benefits of hitting rock bottom, is at that point, there's only one choice left. You need just to go up because you take all that debate that goes on in your head. It's like, I have no other choice right now than to move forward and get through this. But I don't ever want to go there again.
What's so interesting about rock bottom as an example? Like, we've all unfortunately probably hit some version of a low. And yes, of course, there is the choice to go up. And then there are those who don't choose to go up. They stay there. They wallow in it, whatever. We've seen that too.
Oh, I forgot that was a choice. But yes, that is also a choice.
It is a choice. The truth is, it all is. Like, you can choose to put your head on, pull your head under the covers and not get out, or you can choose to say, you know what, today is a new day and I am starting. But there's also another choice wrapped up in the whole rock bottom concept, which is I choose to learn from how I got to rock bottom or something in there. There's always a learning. I'm a big believer that that we don't necessarily make wrong choices, but with each choice that we have made, there's a lesson to be learned. And if there's an opportunity to learn from what you've done from a choice, how much better? Like, here's an example. I just, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I was speaking with somebody who had a connection at a high school. And there was a young boy, 18, who had made a bad choice. He plagiarized a paper using, AI technology. So clearly a bad choice. This boy is now expelled from school. And you can imagine where he is at this moment at 18. He can sit with the thoughts of, I suck, I made a bad choice. And that could last till he's 50. And he can drag that baggage of the bad choice he made, et cetera, and continually make bad choices. Or he can forgive himself. He can apologize. He can do the work he needs to do so that he does not carry the baggage of what was a bad choice at 18 with him through the rest of his life. And, we've all had that. I'm sure when we look back, there are things you feel ashamed of from a choice you made. And it's the question of how do you let that go so that you move forth into being the person you want. So it's so interesting when you talk about the rock bottom idea.
Yeah. And I love that learning process, that idea that I can learn or change, or one of the learnings is, whoa, that went great. I can do that again. It doesn't always have to be a negative. And that's like, oh, well, it was a bad day. You kind of learn from it. No, I learn every friggin' minute of every day because I choose to embrace the good and the bad as something that's helping me to become a better me. Yes. So I love that it's that learning process.
Yeah, very much so. And again, think about, I have 3 of my children, my only 3 children are in their early 20s. And as I'm watching them navigate making choices on their own, be it, their first professional choices involving relationships, personal choices, they'll often come to me and say, Mom, what is the right choice? And I will often throw it back to them, like, there is no right choice necessarily. And number one, I'm not going to make it for you. I'll pro and con it with you. We can have the conversation, but you need to own it. And then you need to see the ramifications of it so that kind of goes in the hopper for your next choice, whatever it is. And to trust that you're making the best choice you can in the moment with who you are and what you know. And then when it comes to your next choice, you'll have more information because you're a little bit older and you've had a little bit more experience. I think that's a really powerful message, certainly to share with the youth and also for us to apply at our stage in life as well.
One of the things that reminded me of is when we choose, it's you can't just say that's your choice, but it's really the outcome that is your choice. It's if you know your priorities and you know your dreams, and you can say, this choice is going to put me towards that or away from that, that makes that choice easier. Once we can know who we are, that's going to be impossible. I'm thinking, know who you are, but I learn more and more about myself every day. So you don't know everything yet, but the more that you can say, this is what I like, this is what I don't. And that's what consequences do. They show you what you don't like. And, all these outcomes can kind of keep you moving in a direction if you're doing your self-reflection and you're paying attention to those things that happened and what happened because of them. What was the consequence seems so negative. What was, what path did that start you to go down with that choice? That doesn't mean you're stuck on that path. That means you can evaluate every step along the way and go, do I want to redirect? Is this working for me? Is this what feels good for me and my purpose? And keep going. Versus if you don't do that self-reflection and that you're like, well, I guess this is what I chose 10 years ago. I'm going to, that doesn't always work.
Your point is so valid. I mean, you're talking redirection or course correction. I mean, you can have made a choice, and to be able to assess if this is not right, you you adjust. I mean, you're right. Who wants to have made a choice, not have it be a good one, and you stick with it for 10 years because you made it just for that purpose versus, wait a minute, like this is not working. I've learned something new. I want to shift. That's really powerful. And again, that's sort of the point I made, that every day we can make a new choice. So if somehow you are on a path that doesn't work for you, you change course. You do. Yeah. And there will be ramifications, and that's not always easy.
Good ones and bad ones. So that's a good thing. We like the response because things don't, it kind of lets you feel whether you're going in a direction that works for your soul. And I can't judge you in your direction because I'm not you. I'm not who you are. And when we can allow everybody their own journey and we can stay on ours that keeps making us feel good. And people can take that phrase and go, well, you just take drugs and then you feel good. No, you're not feeling a darn thing at that point. You've shut off the feeling senses. I guess it probably depends on what drug you're taking. But even aspirin, what is it for? To shut that process off. And so am I choosing to shut down and ignore who I want to be because this is what I'm supposed to do? Like, I have a son who really, really wants to not have that 9-to-5 job, but doesn't, you kind of feel stuck. You feel like this is my income and I'm young enough that I need the income and I can't just chance going it on my own for a while because you've got bills to pay. And you just think, oh, how much easier would society be if we could let the people follow their dreams and not have all this have tos. Have to. I have to go to work. No, you choose to because you want the money. I try to take some of those words that we use that kind of limit us. Right now, I'm choosing my 9-to-5 job because of these things. But it's because it's a choice, I can change it.
Yeah.
But if you feel like I have to do a 9-to-5, then you feel stuck and you can't change it. So I love that. Allowing the words you use to support the choices that you need in your life.
Yeah. What you're describing about your son is very common. Person, he is a big part of the population who isn't necessarily happy with where he is. He might feel resigned to being where he is. But the truth is he does have a choice. And he may choose to say, you know what, for X amount of time, I am sticking with the 9-to-5, and I'm going to really choose to cut back on my spending so that I can save. And I'm also going to choose to have a side hustle so that I can expand on something. And he may make some other choices. I'm going to choose to do, less expense on things for the purpose of saving so that he can kind of with the goal that he wants to get out of the 9-to-5. And he might say, I'm choosing to take some classes. I'm choosing to do some learning about other opportunities. I'm choosing to have conversations with mentors to learn about alternate things. Like, there's always a place of choice. And just because you're in a 9-to-5, that's 8 hours of a day. I mean, it has not taken over your entire day. And one can make a thoughtful choice about how to use the other time and rather than feeling victimized of, oh, I'm in this 9-to-5, it sucks, say, how lucky am I? I'm in this job right now. It's paying my bills. I may have healthcare. I have people that I work with. I'm learning. Not the perfect place I want to be, but for the moment I am here. And while I'm here, I'm doing some exploration and saving money and or making extra money. I mean, there's a lot of choice embedded in that. And I think that's a powerful message to people who feel stuck with where they are.
So I think the cool thing is he's in his early 30s and he recognizes it, now and not later. And he can make those choices to be different. But think of the corporate executive who has been in that world now for 30 years, not just how old they are, but
yeah,
I'm here and I'm stuck and I can't. Oh, you feel stuck. And how can we help our listener let go of that stuck feeling and choose to use their current situation as that pedestal that leaps them into their new amazing future?
I just listened to a beautiful interview with Jane Fonda recently. And in it, what she spoke about, she's now 85-ish. And she said, when I was 59, I really thought, what is my next act? And what do I want my next act to be? And that is something I think about often, our act 3, but it can be any act. Essentially what it's meaning is, what is that next thing I want to do? Where I am is not where I want to be, whether it's someone in your 30s, like your son, or women like us who are, into midlife.
We have adult children.
We're questioning what next? Like, I've done this thing. This thing was fine. I'm kind of done with this thing. I want to move on to the next thing. What is it? Of course, there may be the complications of, we need the money, the benefits, the things, the stuff. And yet, do you want another 20 years to go by still being in the thing when it's not fulfilling? And what does that look like? And I think that's where consciousness really comes in, and intentionality, and having a little bit of a plan, and really just being honest. I mean, it's interesting. I just sat down with my husband, and in 2 weeks, we are actually having kind of a future conversation of what are some of the things that we want in our future so that we can plan a little bit better. We have these along the way, but I think every person needs versions of those conversations, whether you're in partnership or not, to say, what do I see the next bit of time looking like? Because if you're not thinking about it and planning for it and bringing that intentionality to it, you may still be where you are in 5 years if you haven't shifted.
And I also think that the sooner we start thinking about those, the better off we are. Because I know my husband currently is like, I don't know what I'll do when I retire. What are we going to do? Like, you think your only option is to just not go to work. But there's so much you can do, and you don't have to be driven by somebody else's timeline. It's now your timeline. And I think that scares a lot of people, because we are so conditioned to just do what we need to do that we haven't really thought about, what is it that I really want to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to get an RV and travel around the world? I guess you'd have to somehow not go around the world. Travel as far as you could drive on land and then fly it somewhere. There's all these things. So it's like, what do we do?
You are bringing up such an important, I was just speaking with someone about a month or so ago, and she chose to sell her house, shift her business and travel around the country in an RV. Like, that was a big choice. And she'll figure her way out, really with the thought of, like, I don't want to keep living the life I have. I want it to be different. So it's not that that's always such an easy thing to do. I mean, there's planning along the way, but if you don't give thought to it and open yourself up, whether that's having conversations, exploring other opportunities, reading books, going to seminars, talking to other people to expand where you are to where you might want to be, you're going to just be where you are and not feel that sense of possibility.
Yeah, you'll just go, oh, I guess I'll watch TV this weekend.
Yeah.
Or I guess it'd be the week, because we don't have to care about the weekend anymore, right? Go ahead.
No, it's, I think what you're describing that your husband's feeling, again, it's very normal, however, if he were to say, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do when I retire, and I would like to retire and do something different. What does that look like? And maybe he begins to have conversations, or maybe he listens to different podcasts, or maybe he takes a class or something to open himself up to new ideas and says, oh, that feels interesting. I think I want to move in that direction, or that doesn't feel interesting. I'm so not going there. It's a combination of that, but to open himself up, that's what it is for any of us, whether it's a retirement, moving into a new phase of a career, a new part of life.
This is a guy that's been self-employed as long as I have known him. And he had one job. So his dad died when he was 13, and he has been self-employed from that time on. And he is always after the dollar. That's what motivates him every moment of every day, is making money. And in my corporate job, what motivated me was the money, but I didn't have to make all the choices. Someone here's this, do this, here's this, do this. That's so much easier than calling all the shots and having all the risk. I had no risk at that, so it's how much risk can I handle? Because the second you don't have that security of that 9 to 5, there's this perceived risk of maybe not having the financial backing, because we've been so trained that the only way to make money is to go to work for somebody. And it's not. And the most wealthy people in the world are people who started out on their own and called their own shots and did their own thing and are living in luxury. It wasn't the people that went and got this job and got stuck. So, free yourself any way you can today to start making a choice for a better future, and knowing what your priorities are and knowing how to identify what you really want are things that I don't know if we know how to do, because we've allowed ourselves for so many years just to be instructed what to do next. How do we come up with that? This is what resonates with me, and this is how I want my life to be in the future. So we're going to take a really quick break, and we're just going to have a quick word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how do we get to know who we are so that we can make the proper choices all along the way, that when it is time to leave that 9 to 5, that we don't feel lost. So we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
Hey, we're back. And I am so excited to hear that I sprung this question on Kim before we left. So how do we get to know ourselves well enough that when we can make these huge, major life change choices, that we don't just pull that rug right out from under our feet and collapse? How do we get to our balance enough that we can change that direction and not wobble?
I love your question. So I have written a book, and it's called The Book of Choice. And
perfect lead-in for your book.
one of the key in the Book of Choice, I kind of go in two directions. On the one hand, look back at the choices you did make, but on the other hand, what are the choices you want to make? But to your point, how do we know kind of who we are in this present time? A lot of it is knowing who we were in the past. So I take people through a process, which is how to look back at your past from a place of pride. You know, again, when you think of choices you've made in your past, there are going to be those that you're really pleased with and those you're not. So in the case of the ones that you're pleased with, it's like, what is the nugget to learn from that choice that you made then that you want to bring forth into what you're doing now? And that is a very, very key thing. So as you own that, so as an example, I was leading a bunch of young men through this exercise a bit of time ago, and we were talking about some choices they'd made. And some of the words that were coming out were, wow, I was courageous. I was persistent. I was kind. And as we were talking, I thought, well, imagine bringing those qualities into today's choices. So owning qualities that you've exhibited in the past and or qualities that you see others having that you want to have. One thing, and I learned this years ago, and it's been so impactful. If there's anything that you admire in another person, a quality of them, that quality is within you because you would not have the awareness to notice it in them. So if you are seeing somebody and you think they are brave, that bravery is within you. So if that is a quality, for example, that you want to exhibit, stepping forth into a new choice, own it and take it in and use that quality. That's really the key thing.
I love what you were talking about in the look back. And it sounded like really rewriting that story using the things that you can see were the positive results. So I went through a time in my life where I had to be very courageous, and I can use that courage going forward. I went through my time, these things of, oh, wow, look how strong I was. I made it. Or look how persistent I was. And I should say not even was, look how persistent I am. And I can use that going forward. And with just those two qualities of courage and courageousness is just like, and persistence, you can go forever because you don't need much else because you'll make it through. I didn't let the hard times stop me.
But you brought something up, which is that premise of retelling your story, which assume there's a choice you made that you don't love, or some things that you did in your past that you're not proud of. How do you wrangle that and look at it with today's eyes? And how do you not sort of it to that story of the boy who plagiarized? If he were to sit with the story of I'm a cheater, I'm a loser, I do bad things, picture him 30 years down the road. Like he will be a cheater, a loser, and a guy who doesn't do good things, versus if he does the work to retell that story, realizing like I made a dumb mistake and how do I now move forth so I become the man I can be. We all have that ability. We've all done things that we are not proud of, said things we wished we did, and hurt somebody that we shouldn't have hurt. And we may be sitting with a shameful feeling or that. How do we heal that, retell that, so we step into today's choice more powerfully? That's very, very important.
And my thought on that is it's the words. The words we choose to retell that story is the ones that stick. And if you retell the story as, oh my gosh, I made this choice. This is exhausting. It wore me out. All these things that are self-limiting, you can tell that same story as, oh my gosh, I made this choice and I learned how to persevere and to stay and push forward and make it through, and look where I am now because of that choice. I mean, I want to go through it again, but I can take what it taught me and move forward. And instead of looking at things that happen to us as something that holds us back, if we change the words, they can propel us forward.
I often use the language, and it's a small shift rather than saying, why did this happen to me? To shift that language to why did this happen for me? And when you shift just that bit of language, you remove yourself out of the victim mode. And you now are like, oh, okay, this did happen. How am I meant to learn? How am I meant to grow and learn from it? And that is a very important reframe for all of us.
I use that one a lot.
Yeah.
Because you have to self-reflect. Yeah. Without it, we don't forge our own path. If you do your self-reflection and you make your choices, you are forging your own path. Even if it is following someone else, It's your path you've just chosen, and you're not doing it because it's the easy way, or it's where I'm supposed to be at the moment. And if we live in a very mindful way where I have everything I need right now to be successful right now. And if I know every moment of the day when I'm living in it, I have succeeded that moment. I'm here. I'm not starving. I'm not cold. I'm not hot. Okay. I get all those, even in the house. But it's here. You are successful now. And every time you do the now, you're still successful. And as long as we're looking at it as not, oh, I have to, or have all these things, or all this crap happened to me, as that when we're focusing so far on the past or so far in the future, you never feel that complete content feeling. But when you're now, I don't know, that just made me feel like so peaceful. Just that I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I have everything I need for a successful today.
Mm-hmm. It's a powerful conversation. And I think it's one that I feel pleased to share with people from the perspective of, again, they make choices every day. So to bring a renewed sense of consciousness, intentionality, thoughtfulness to what they do, I think it has the potential to elevate the quality of your life. I think it's that important.
And I truly believe that if you take care of yourself, you will have everything you need to support the people around you. But if you don't take care of yourself first, you're going to run out of energy on everybody else and not have time for yourself.
And that in itself is a choice.
Yes.
Choice to take care of you first.
And I just want everybody to start reflecting and going, did I take care of me today? That doesn't mean you got your nails done. That doesn't mean you went and got your haircut. It means, did I take care of my emotional well-being today? The self-care that's going to help you continue on and on forever is that internal self that guides and directs. And if we keep telling ourselves, that's a stupid idea. No, it's not. It was an idea. And I used my ability to interrogate that thought, whether I choose to move forward with it or not. It's not a stupid thought. It's just something that we get to think through and choose whether we move in that direction or not.
Yeah.
And I love the choice. I can't wait to go find your book.
Thank you. It's a special book, and I trust you will enjoy it. I also think it's a beautiful book to share with people in your life that you know are navigating choices and maybe struggling with them. It's a beautiful resource.
So buy a dozen.
Okay.
Share Christmas gifts on their way.
Well, and I have a special page. People visit a domain called yourchoicebook.com. Not only can they get the book, but I created a bunch of really great videos that kind of take the book a little bit deeper, some of the concepts. So they get all of those as well.
So it was yourchoicebook.com.
Yeah. And that'll link so that they can get the book, but they can also get the special videos.
Yeah, I was just going to write it down so I could go right there and look. But I know it's in the show notes, but they're not in front of me. So we are at the end of our time. I can't believe it's already been 30 minutes. I just have totally enjoyed this. If you were to say, just reflecting over the last 30-ish minutes and think, what is the key that I want the listener to get out of this? And any last things that we may have left out that we could add before signing out?
I think the key that I want everybody to take with them is that every day you have a choice to take your life in the direction you want. So if you are not moving where you want, if you are not living the way you want, if you are not doing the work that you want, if you are not in the relationship that you want, if your health is not the way you want, you can wake up any morning and begin to take action towards the choice that better serves you. And that is something I hope everybody can acknowledge, own, embody, and utilize for themselves.
That's your message to the world, and I love it. It is definitely a message that I also preach. It's choice, and how powerful you feel. Actually, I feel peaceful when I've made a good choice, and my life is just going in the direction I need. Like, if I say powerful, I almost feel like I'm in the boat and I'm rowing my oars just as fast as I can to get where I know I'm going, where a lot of the choices can be, I'm going downstream and I'm going to put my little boat right here and it's going to let me off right where I'm going and enjoy the journey and not worry about how fast we're getting there, because the universe is taking us there, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, so true. So true. Thank you very much. Pleasure to get to talk to you about all of it.
Thank you, Kim. And I hope we cross paths again, because I have totally loved this.
Thank
Listener, Kim and I are not medical or mental professionals. We are here solely for entertainment purposes. People that have been there, done that, learned from our lessons and moved through them. So stay tuned for the next episode, which is our challenge episode. And I love the challenges. Talk to you soon.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.